Hey you guys, it's Linnea, and I have some fun inspiration for you using the new summer release from LDRS Creative. So I'm going to be using 2 stamp sets and 1 stencil to create 2 cards today, and I'm going to use the School of Fish stencil in 2 different ways. So let's start off here creating a fun rainbow background. I'm going to use a whole rainbow of inks from LDRS Creative. I'm using Tickled Pink, Tangerine Dream, Banana Cream Pie, Prickly Pear Perfection, Marina Madness, and Parisian Purple to complete my rainbow. Now, as I stencil, I do want to tell you there is much debate in my household about which way this stencil goes. And what I love about this stencil is that I think you could flip it either way. So you could have it facing the way that I did. You can flip it upside down. You can even completely flip your stencil over. So really you could get 4 different looks out of this stencil. After I created my rainbow with the School of Fish stencil, I'm going to use some LDRS Creative Raven Hybrid ink and create a more graphic style of card. So I'm just blending that ink all over that stencil, and check that out. And like I said, I think you can flip it either way. And so I made 2 cards, and I have one the way that I think it looks right, and then the other one my husband thinks is right. So I think in the end I'll tell you which one I think looks right to me. And it totally depends on your perspective on the stencil. Is the little blip on the fish, is that their little tummies or is that their fins? So here you can see I kind of have it both ways. So totally perspective on the stencil, and I love that you can use it in multiple ways. So I'm going to be stamping out a little mermaid, and this is from the Mermaid Treasures stamp set. This stamp set has 3 different mermaids and a whole bunch of mermaid themed sentiments. This stamp set is so cute. So I'm going to stamp out the mermaid with the little trident, and I'm using Raven Hybrid ink to stamp her onto some cardstock that is good for alcohol marker coloring. And I'm going to do some quick coloring. I sped this up so that I could keep the majority of the coloring in the video, but so that you didn't get too bored, because like I said, my coloring is simple. I'm going to start off coloring the gold items, so the little starfish in her hair and then the top of the trident. For skin tones, I like to use a couple different markers. I don't really use a certain brand of markers. I just really encourage you to use whatever you have, and I think that these images you could even watercolor, so that would be so fun to do too. I just like to add just a little bit of shading with a darker color and then use a lighter color. Most of the time I just use 2 markers for each color. Now for her hair, I'm going to use 3 because I wanted to have a little bit more dimension in her hair. I'm going to color her hair red because when I see mermaid, I just think of classic red-haired mermaid. So I started with 1 color, and then I went right to the dark, and then the medium, and then I'll blend out all of that with the light again. Really easy, really simple coloring. And then I'm going to use the coordinating Mermaid Treasures dies to cut her out. She's going to go onto my rainbow stenciled background, and I'm just going to find a sentiment that I think is going to fit perfectly on this card, and then I'll stamp that with Raven Hybrid ink and pop her up right in the center with some foam squares. I'm going to add just a little bit of sparkle to her so that she will, I think everything under the sea sparkles, right? So this card is all done. Let's move on to the second card, the more graphic style card. I'm going to use the Explore and Discover stamp set, but all I'm using is just this one sentiment banner from the stamp set. I love this style of sentiment where the color that you stamp is actually the background, and so it makes the text whatever color cardstock you're using. So I'm going to use white cardstock, so it's going to look almost like I stamped the sentiment in white on a colored background. I think it's a really fun style of sentiment. I'm using 3 different colors. I'm going to be using Tickled Pink, Tropical Sea, and Boysenberry Blast are the 3 colors that I end up stamping. I just put that little strip in my stamping tool, and then I can just quickly stamp with the different colors of hybrid inks and just kind of shift my cardstock up so that I don't have to keep repositioning that stamp. When I put it in my tool, I did make sure that I stamped it straight so that then all I had to do was take it over to my paper trimmer and I could easily trim out all 3 of these little strips. So once I have them stamped and cut out, I'm just going to put some foam tape behind them, and then I'll use a T-square ruler to put these right in the center, just stack all 3 of those sentiments, and it also is the same thing, just different colors. So I'm just going to use my T-square ruler and add these on. So, and that completes my 2 cards. I hope that you guys enjoyed. I am completely in love with this graphic style one with the School of Fish stencil in black. I do love the rainbow as well, but this one's definitely my favorite. And I think that the stencil looks best going this way with the little blip as their tummies, but my husband thinks that it looks good as their fins. So really, I love that you can twist this stencil to go whichever direction you want. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll see you soon. Bye.